Hey, how's it going? I'm Rob, and this is Chrono Odyssey. I got the chance to take an early look at this action MMORPG during a limited weekend playtest, and I jumped on the opportunity. Any game with elements of time travel is a game for me. Also, welcome to my first video after deciding to increase my effort in the editing process. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll surely notice the difference. So please like the video and subscribe to watch as I hone my skills in future videos. This video, I dove into Chrono Odyssey. The plan was to play all weekend. However, you'll see why that didn't happen. This game immediately starts off by showing us a selection of classes to choose from, and each class has 3 weapons that they're each proficient with. Each weapon changes the class's playstyle, and no class seems to share the same weapon with another class. The assassin sports a saber, a wrist blade, and a musket. The sorcerer is our magic option, wielding a staff, mana sphere, and a grimoire. The paladin has a bit more melee range with a lance and a halberd, and maybe the mace is better against undead enemies. The swordsman gets all the swords, 4 to be exact, 1 greatsword, 1 sword and shield, and 2 more, dual blades. The berserker is a chopping man with chain blades, twin axes, and a battle axe. The ranger understandably has a couple ranged options with a bow and a crossbow. And also, my favorite type of sword, the rapier. So my class was chosen for me. Now, I would have loved to have spent time to handcraft the perfect character to be proud of, but since this is just a weekend playtest, I decided to just dive in the game with a randomized character.
You could be a clown.
The game starts off by revealing that we are soldiers in the year 856. We're sitting around a fire with some fellow soldiers, Kaya and Baldur, second-guessing the existence of a magical relic in these ruins of time. Another soldier, Etheldrada, comes to get Baldur's assistance and instructs the rest of us to prepare ourselves to move out. So we take a nap, only to be waken up by Kaya as a result of an ambush. We were instructed to run and fight our way through all this chaos and find Etheldrada, but after gaining control and practicing some of the combat inputs, my first order of business was to see if I could grind some experience before continuing forward. I could not. So off to Etheldrada we go. On the way, I received an ominous tip.
I'll also leave you with one warning.
Yep.
Be wary of explosive barrels.
Oh. However, I found my mount button at that time, so caution has already made way for joy. Once we get to the water, we're overrun by enemies, but lucky us, Baldur's here to help. Impressed with how far we managed to make it, but without another word, he vanishes. Maybe he was eaten by something bigger. What happened? Where'd he go? Oh my god!
Is it dark?
Baldur was actually just up the trail where some more enemies were. I started to fight a few until I realized I'm not getting any experience, so I continued up and discovered some enemies that looked locked in time. Instead of messing with any more mobs, I just rushed forward and closed the gate on them, and helped Etheldrada clean up the stragglers. Now unopposed, we take the relic we've been searching for, only to be confronted by something that seems to have gotten the upper hand of Kaya. Void Tracker, Centurio Spada. Our first introduction to boss fights. I darted in and out with my rapier while memorizing the speed of his swings, watching for big wind-ups or a tell that would suggest it's time to get some distance. One hit from this guy took half my health, and I quickly realized I haven't learned how to heal yet. One more hit, and I know it's time to take advantage of the provided NPC tank and range the rest of him down with the bow. But before we can kill him all the way dead, he gets the upper hand of Etheldrada first, and finds her a nice seat to sit where she can watch and see what he'll do to me. Oh good, this is where the time magic part of the game comes in, just in time. A lovely lady named Velia destroys the Void Tracker and reveals the Void are adept at claiming worlds. She fixes my relic and instructs me to find her in the past in order to change the future. Or tell her the future has changed? I'm not quite sure what that means yet. The next cutscene shows a meteor streaking across the sky, and after gaining control again, it becomes obvious. It is me. I am the meteor. And for a brief moment, the year pops up to reveal that it is now 855, 1 year in the past. After making my way to the massive hole left by this tiny chrono payload, we see a massive void eye, some kind of warp point for the invading void creatures. But it begs the question, is there only one, or are there many? A grim sight, but not all is doom and gloom, because right up ahead is just what we've been looking for. Potions, yay!
You can heal now.
So after registering those to my quick slot, finding out I can go prone, and discovering I can swim, I ran forward to discover a very trigger-happy guard. What are you doing? Are you shooting at me? Just beyond him was our first respawn point, and a familiar face, Baldur, but I suppose from 1 year ago. He's trying to find a route to siege the Void Eye and tells us to go meet Kaya. You know, this one. But before we do that, I made an important discovery. This area, I can finally farm some experience. And each weapon gains its own experience and levels as you use them, separate from your player level. Once I got level 3 on both my weapons and myself to level 2, I started analyzing my skill menus. I didn't need to worry about my player level until level 10, so I decided to look at that later. And the weapon skills had me planning for a crit and counter build. But unfortunately, I hadn't had the chance to try out the crossbow yet, so I didn't have any points for those. Kaya was just up ahead and sends us off with some new duds to go investigate the Eye of Insight. These fancy structures reveal bits of the map as I discover them. And as soon as that's understood, there was another question in my mind that needed to be answered. Is there fall damage? Yes. Kaya told us about the Eye of Insight to help us navigate to the coastal outpost where Etheldreda was waiting for us. It seems like everybody knows us from this time period, but the us of this time period seems to have just disappeared after being tasked with retrieving the meteorite, as in ourselves. But since she's too busy to deal with us herself, she sends us to grab a weapon and go kill some Void. And one of these weapons is our crossbows, and they have a nice backflip attack that pairs nicely with the rapier's thrusts. But now it's time to get some skill points before I look at the skills. While doing this, I found my first piece of dropped loot, and the skills on the crossbows made me even more excited for a crit and counter build with the rapier. I didn't realize it at the time, but while farming those crossbow levels, I also satisfied Etheldreda's order to kill some Void. So now I need to go talk to Baldur again. Baldur is concerned about this fight turning into a war of attrition, which would not work well against the seemingly limitless Void. So we're off to ask Kaya if she has any information on the Void Eye that might help. Kaya wasn't too far away on a vantage point that was easy to get to once I found out I can double jump, but she has nothing to tell us, other than a longing for a proper position to snipe the Void Eye from. Ask and you shall receive. We finally get a use for our first and only Chronotector ability. Temporal tuning is your quest trail, leading you to the next location for a quest. And once there, it's a simple matter to just press the button on the magical stopwatch, watch the Void Eye implode, and become a legendary hero, loved by all. Victory seems pretty simple now. Good thing we brought this doohickey from the future. But wait, does that now mean that 2 of these relics exist in this world now? Or did the one from this time period disappear when I arrived like the me from this time? Did I disappear? Too many questions that I can't answer right now. So for now, let's just focus on what we can do right now. Reporting back to the outpost. But a quick update, I can now gather resources. After gathering some thicket stems, I noticed some undead enemies and grinded out player level 3, crossbow level 4, and ended up discovering a wyvern that I do no damage to. So I ran to the safety of Baldur's arms, vowing to return once I've gained significantly more strength. Baldur is awestruck and curious as to how we managed to destroy the Void Eye. We spoke the truth, but to ears that would not hear it, so he tells us to just meet up with everybody at the Frontier HQ. And for our trip, a travel buddy named Romek, a pilgrim of Kronos, who is also on his way to the settlement where the HQ is located. On the way, I discover some Saurochs, fast, reptilian enemies that had some suspicious-looking barrels nearby that I decided to test out. And what I had learned... Oh! Well, I got him! Is what death looks like. If only I had some kind of warning about how dangerous those barrels are beforehand.
Be wary of explosive barrels.
All is good though, as far as I could tell. Death just respawned you back to safety and I didn't notice anything missing. So I ran back, reached player level 4, and decided to run a new experiment. So yeah, I recognize a big nope when I see one, so I proceeded to nope on out of there and save these mobs for another day. Once we reached the settlement, our road companion split off from us, and I, after discovering my lack of materials, decided to continue to Etheldrada, only to discover that the Void are not gone, and that there's some sort of dangerous anomaly in the nearby cave that she wants me to check out. But before I do, she tells me to become acquainted with forging some equipment. Don't mind if I do. So I grabbed the free resources from the blacksmith, crafted up some crit crossbows, and headed off to the general store to grab all the basic tools to gather resources. Finally, time for my favorite pastime, resource gather... I've crashed. Nothing to worry about though, I just load right back in, my tools equipped without a fuss, and I'm free to go test out getting some stone with my pickaxe, herbs with my scythe, and wood with my axe. Also, it seems like there's nothing locked behind upgrading tools, but the higher tier nodes just take much longer. Once I learned the how, I needed the what, so I ran back to the settlement to see how many of which resources I needed to upgrade my gear. Which is when I discovered I already have enough protein to craft 3 hearty pottages. Food that heals me and also gives me passive regen, healing me for 6 HP per second for 30 minutes, which will be great for all the combat healing I'm about to do. After that, I took note of what materials I needed to craft a new rapier, and all I needed was to process the materials and whip one up brand new. Next step in my preparations is to upgrade my armor. I ultimately decided to farm for a mix of crit rate and damage boost gear to complement my crit encounter build. So I needed to start the lengthy process of farming what I think are leather and cloth, and also more of the blue archstone I've found randomly. But before I could even start to make a dent in all those materials that I needed, I have crashed again. So yes, 2 crashes were enough for me, but I can't say it was the game. I've been having a few games crash on me lately, so I decided it was time to wipe and reinstall Windows from scratch. I'll have to upgrade my PC at some point. My current motherboard can't even support Windows 11, but right now I need to get some miles out of what I do have. I wish I could have played more, but the first thing I did was edit this video, which took me over a week. So yeah, the weekend playtest has ended. But the main reason I recorded it anyways was to practice this new editing style, because my next game is going to be Clair Obscure. I've heard that everyone's been loving this game, but not specifically why, but that I need to definitely play it because I love Final Fantasy games. So I'm going to try to do weekly uploads in this video style from now on. I might not hit every Friday, but it should get better as I improve my process. Now, for those of you who are still here, type "everything takes practice" in the comments below. Alright, see you in Clair Obscure. Take her easy.